I'm at Martinville Raceway right now. We're in between the heat races and the features. We knew when the Young Guns came to town it was going to be a packed house. There's going to be a lot of karts, a lot of action, and guess what? It hasn't disappointed. Where did your favorite driver finish? Well, stick around because the Martinville Raceway report starts right now.
It's my life now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. I just wanna live my life.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Martinville Raceway report. This report will cover racing action from June 8th, Young Guns Day at Martinville Raceway. June 8th at Martinville was fantastic. There's so many positive things you can say about the race, the Young Guns racing, the regulars racing at Martinville on June 8th. It was fantastic. And in this episode, we will go over the racing action from Martinville Raceway on June 8th, including some of the Young Guns action. Also in this episode, we're going to give you a couple interviews. I had an opportunity to sit down and talk with Andrea, or not sit down, but stand up and talk with Andrea Weaver. She was at the track and she was gracious enough to give me an opportunity to talk to her. And also we're going to talk to my son Brendan, who made his 2013 debut in the number 7 Victory Racing kart. So, excuse me. Also, there's going to be a couple hopeful special things you'll like. I put together a little Crank It Up segment, and I've already released it on YouTube, but I'm also going to include it in this episode because I think you'll like it. And also, I hope you'll stick around for at the end of this episode, I'm going to have a special commentary, so I hope you'll stick around for that. But right now, what I want to do is, as I mentioned, the racing was fantastic at Martinville, and we're going to go back to the track, and I'm going to give you my instant thoughts from the racing action on June 8th. Well, round 3 of the 2013 Martinville Raceway season is in the books, and tonight was an incredible night. Initial count has a kart count over 100. The Young Guns put on a great show, and we found out today that the new track formation has made the track even faster, so fast that turn 4 became very treacherous today. If you were in the high groove coming out of turn 4, you were in the fence. It was a great night at Martinville Raceway. If you weren't here, you missed a treat. You had banging, you had fast racing, you had passing, you had some dominance by some guys, but it was a great time here tonight at Martinville Raceway. We definitely thank the Young Guns for coming and sharing in tonight, for lack of a better term. We definitely hope to see them next year. As you can hear, there's some karts coming on track to get a little extra practice. But tonight was a great night at Martinville Raceway. Later on in the show, you'll find out who finished where, and then you also find out where the points are right after the third race of the 2013 Martinville Raceway season. As you heard me say in the instant reaction, we'll call it, from Martinville on June 8th, the racing was fantastic. In just a second, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, but first off, I want to thank the sponsors of Martinville Raceway who help keep the track running. They do a great job. They're very supportive of Paul and everything that happens at Martinville Raceway, so we want to make sure that we continually say thank you and mention those sponsors. And those sponsors are Friendship Stores, Burris Tires, O&I Transport, Rod's Garage, Warner Racing, Chafin Motorsports, and we can't forget about Ma Warner. Without the support of the sponsors of Martinville Raceway, obviously the track would not be in the condition it's in right now, and it wouldn't run as smoothly as it runs right now. So we very much thank the sponsors. You're going to hear me thank them over and over because it's very important to thank the people that support a track, a kart, whoever. It's very important to thank who supports you or anything. Now, as far as racing goes, there's not enough words that can describe what it was like at Martinville on June 8th with the Young Guns there. One thing that really stands out was the track was fast. The track was in great condition. It was surprising how quickly the rubber was laid down on the track. Very quickly, the groove was there. You saw the groove. It was there. It was black. You saw the groove, and if you got out of the groove, you paid the price. I was happy not only that the Young Guns were there, but it was the season debut of my son in the Victory Racing number 7. So I had two things to very much look forward to: the Young Guns, and then my son being there of his first time out in 2013. And in the 360 clone class by itself had 20 entries. 20. It was awesome. They actually had to split it up into 3 heat race pairings, for lack of a better term. There were 3 different heat races times 2 to make the feature. 20 entries in the 360 clone. That was fantastic. And what was really nice was when the features were ran, there were 3 different features that had the full field in them. Paul will limit the feature to 12. That's as many that will make the feature. And there were 3 different classes that had all 12 in it, 12 being the max. And the Young Guns also had one of their features have 11 karts in that class. So there was a lot of full fields in the features, which made for a lot of great racing. It was a day of a lot of great racing, and there were 108 total entries at Martinsville. Now, Paul told me that that was the highest amount that Martinville had ever had. 108 entries. It was fantastic. I took some pictures of the board, and it was just awesome to see all the classes, and then boom, all of the different entries in those classes. 108 total, which was fantastic. And the racing was more aggressive than it's been most of the year. You could tell that the racers were out there to race. They wanted to find their lines. They wanted to move up, and there was a lot of aggressive racing. And in one of the races, I believe it was the 305 clone, but don't hold me to that. The first and second on the last lap, they wrecked coming out of turn 4. So I believe it was Austin Butler who was in 3rd place. He was running good, but he was behind the leaders. But after first and second wrecked, there you go. He came in a 1. So it's always good to be up front because you never know what's going to happen. Turn 4, turn 4 was very treacherous. As the night progressed and the track got a little bit more dusty, if you came out of turn 4 and you were high, most likely you were either going off the track or you were going into the fencing and or the hay bales and the plastic pipe that they had there. So you had to be very careful coming out of turn 4. There was a lot of karts as they were coming out of turn 4 that they were high. They either got incredibly loose or they unfortunately hit the wall. And there was about 4 or 5 instances where somebody hit the wall coming out of turn 4. Now Paul did mention he didn't like that. I don't think anybody likes so many karts coming out of turn 4 and wrecking, and Paul told me specifically that he's going to do something about it to make sure on June 22nd the same thing didn't happen. So if you have any fears about that, don't worry about it. Paul's going to take care of it. He's going to find a solution to make sure that turn 4 won't be as treacherous as it was this past race. As I mentioned before, there's going to be 2 interviews in this episode of the Martinville Raceway Report. As I mentioned before, Andrea Weaver was most gracious to allow some time for me to interview her. It was a great interview. I hope you'll enjoy it. And then I got to interview my son, who, like as I've mentioned before, he debuted his season debuted in the number 7 Victory Racing 7 kart, and we'll tell you more about that when we go to his interview. And I hope you enjoy the Crank It Up segment that I'm going to include. I just decided to have some fun. When you watch Fox's coverage of NASCAR, they have their Crank It Up set where they just basically turn up the volume and have the cars whizzing by. You hear the motors, you hear the cars as they come by. It's really cool. I hope you like that. And I really hope you stick around for the final segment. The final segment is going to focus on Jason Leffler. As I'm recording this is Thursday, and on Wednesday evening, I believe it was June 12th, unfortunately Jason Leffler lost his life when he was racing on a dirt track in, I believe it was New Jersey, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, so I hope you stick around for that. But the racing was fantastic at Martinville on June 8th. The Young Guns put on a show. The regulars at Martinville put on a show. I mean, full field features, great racing, tricky turn 4, aggressive racing. There wasn't a lot of dirty racing, which is really aggressive. The drivers who wanted to get to the front, they wanted to get to the front, and they, a little bit of bumping, a little bit of beating. So for the most part, it was very clean racing, but it was very aggressive. But it was fun to watch. I was in the infield all night taking pictures, and it was a fantastic night. Hearing motors all over the place, full fields. It was a fantastic time. If you weren't at Martinville for the Young Guns race, you missed out because it was a fantastic time. So I just hope you stick around and hope you enjoy the Martinville Raceway report as it continues on. I want to thank Andrea Weaver for taking time to talk to me, let me interview her at the track on June 8th at Martinville. When the offer was given to her to come over and let me interview her, she was very gracious and she was very nice to talk to. She's a great person. She loves racing. She loves her kids. For them, it's a family sport because both her kids run. We're running at Martinville. They both obviously race, so I was very grateful for the conversation. It was a great interview. We had the opportunity to talk to her this past week at Martinville, and I hope you enjoyed the interview with Andrea Weaver. We're here at Martinville Raceway. It's a big day for Martinville. The Young Guns are in town for the annual visit, and we're here talking with Andrea Weaver. Now, you may have missed her at the last race here at Martinville because she was recovering from bronchitis. So, first off, we want to make sure everybody's healthy. So, Andrea, how you doing?
Pretty good. Just trying to recover from bronchitis. I think today will be all right. It's been a long road, long year already. I don't think we've had but maybe 3 or 4 weeks off in the year, and it's been long. I don't know when we're gonna quit having rain out, so at least we get a race day in this weekend.
Yeah, rain has been a big factor here at Martinville this year. Now, do you anticipate any of the effects of the bronchitis affecting you here tonight?
No, I think I'm 100% recovered.
That's good.
We ran a little bit Thursday night, and I kind of went out on the track and messed around just to make sure I was okay, so we look forward to having a good night tonight.
Well, we're all glad that Andrea is healthy, and we were talking earlier, she said that she's been around racing since she was 5 years old, and so I'm going to ask her, tell me as far as how'd you get into racing, as far as when you were 5, and what do you like so much about it?
Well, how I got into racing when I was 5, my dad had a go-kart, and I liked going and watching, and he actually raced over here at Attica in the pit area where they now had the sprint car track. In the pit area they had a go-kart track, and that's where I started going and helping my dad. One thing kind of involved through another, and when I was a kid, I really didn't get to race. It was kind of my dad's thing, and I just went and I cleaned the mud off of his stuff, and that's how I got into it. And I don't know, just
Kind of grew from there?
grew from there.
Now, as far as, I've mentioned before on previous episodes of the Martinville Raceway Report, I love the fact as far as the family aspect. Well, she's got 2 sons that are racing. Sam has actually won 2 feature races so far this year, and Andrew, in his 1 race this year in the feature, finished 3rd. So, as a mom, what's it like watching your kids out on the racetrack?
Here it's not too bad, but when we go to Fort Wayne and stuff where it's really high speed, it's really, your mom in the stand sitting there biting your nails just like every other mom would be. But then, on the same hand, when you're watching, you're biting your nails, but you're trying to think, well, what am I going to do to the go-kart to make it better the next time I come in?
Combination of mom, crew chief, you kind of figure out what's going on. She mentioned as far as being a mom, being nervous, there's a reason why you don't see Brennan's mom and grandma here for the same reasons he just mentioned. Now, how long have you been racing here at Martinville?
We've raced since they reopened the track up. I believe it was probably 2008, maybe. But we've been pretty much racing here, and we do a lot of traveling sometimes, so I can't say I've dedicated everything here, but so far this year we came here every weekend we ran. And
driver
we've
sign
won
in.
every time we've been here.
At the picnic table by the scales, driver sign in.
Somebody else in
By
my
the
go-kart
scales.
still won 1
Also,
class and
the
got
Young
third
Gun
or
sign in
fifth in the other, and
is
Sam won,
down
so.
by their vehicle down
The
at
Weaver
the end of
Performance
pit road.
always runs strong here at
They got a sign
Martinville.
out back
Now, with
there.
the Young Guns being here today, what do you
Thank you.
anticipate as far as on-track activity today?
On the track, I think the track's, even though they're pouring a bunch of water on it, I think the track's going to probably turn pretty black and hard, so it's going to be pretty abrasive. So you're going to have probably a pretty different setup than you had last time you were here.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This is Andrea Weaver. You always see her up front when she's racing here at Martinville, and we definitely anticipate her having a great night here tonight at Martinville Raceway. I want to once again thank Andrea Weaver for the great interview. She was great to talk to. I'm very glad that she's getting over her bronchitis that kept her away from the racetrack for a couple weeks. I know just talking with her, she really loves the fact that she races with her family. I believe it's the 24 and the 90 are what her kids run, and they're always up front. Andrea's always up front when she's racing. Now, one thing did happen as far as Andrea goes. As the track started filling up, Andrea realized that she had a lot of carts there that she needed to keep on, a lot of carts she sponsored, a lot of carts that ran with her name on it. So she had to take off her racing hat and put on her business owner's hat to help out with those carts. So she wasn't able to drive this past week in Martinville, but I do look forward to seeing her on the track soon. I definitely look forward to her getting 100% healthy, and she always runs up front, and I look forward to seeing her in Victory Lane very soon. Now, as far as Victory Lane goes, why don't we go ahead and tell you who finished where as far as racing at Martinville Raceway on June 8th. In the 360 flathead class, which had about 14 to 16 entrants themselves, coming in first place and getting $200 for his day was Phil Schneider. Second place was Josh Morton. Third place was Kobe Allison. Fourth place was Jacob Lawhon, and coming in fifth place was Brock Gressman. In the 400 clone class, now most of the results that I'm going to tell you are going to be those who finished in the money. And finishing in first place in the 400 clone class was Epson Miller. Finishing in second place was Kevin Hendry. In the open class, finishing in first place and taking home $110 for his efforts was the number 4 of Mike Pace. In second place was Steve Edward. In third place, the number 1 of Travis Hoffbauer. And in fourth place was Scott Fowler. In the 360 clone class, the biggest class of the night, and I think it's with the 20 entries in the 360 clone class, I think that's the most they've had in a very long time. And finishing in first place and coming home with $200 was Epson Miller. Now I can tell you this. During that race, during the feature in the 360 clone class, there was a lot of passing, there was a lot of beating, there was a lot of banging, but one thing stayed the same, was Mr. Miller staying up front. The number 12 was hooked up. Every restart, every turn, he was there. He'd get on the restarts, he'd get out front, he'd stay out front, and nobody was able to put any pressure on him to try and take first place and the victory away from him. So once again, first place in the 360 clone class was Epson Miller. Second place was Brad Bowers. Third place was Joey Pendergrass. Fourth place was Josh Hanselman. Fifth place was Landon Lalonde. And in sixth place was Devin Kime. In the 305 clone class, this is the race I mentioned as far as coming out of turn 4. Number 1 and number 2, they wrecked. So, number 3, Mr. Butler, Austin Butler, who was in third place at the time, he was able to make it through the wreck and grab the checkered flag and come home in first place. So, in 305 clone, in first place was Austin Miller. Second place was Ben Wasson. And in third place was Sam Weaver. In the open clone class, and this was the class where my son made his season premiere in the number 7 Victory Racing cart. They had a good cart all day, but they just didn't quite have enough for the leaders. Especially Scott Roberts, who finished in first place. He just couldn't quite keep up with them. So Brendan, my son, had a good cart, but he didn't have enough of a cart to put any pressure on Mr. Roberts. So in the open clone class, coming home in first place was the number 3 of Scott Roberts. Second place was the number 50 of Tony Sweet. And in third place in his season debut was my son Brendan in the number 7 Victory Racing cart, Brendan Goforth. In the junior clone class, coming home in first place and grabbing the money was Jeremiah Halbison. And in second place was Nathan McCullough. In the kid kart class, coming in first place was Wyatt Crow. Second place was Alec Guerin, And in third place was Dane Howie. In the purple plate class, coming home in first place was James Groh. Second place was Marcus Weaver. And in third place was Aaron Weekly. And in the gold plate class, coming home in first place, Zach Newman, and coming home in second place was Casey Zebold. Now, those are the results from this past race at Martinville Raceway. As I mentioned before, for the most part, I just gave you those who finished in the money, and the results do not include the Young Guns results. The Young Guns, Martinville's not responsible for the Young Guns results, so I did not have access to them. But it was definitely a great night, a lot of great racing. You had some winners which you didn't think were going to be in victory lane find their way to victory lane, and then you had others like the number 12 I mentioned who was just dominant all night, and you expected him to finish out in victory lane, and he did finish out in victory lane. So it was a great night of racing. Excuse me. It was a great night of racing at Martinville. It's going to be like this for the rest of the summer. Hopefully it's going to continue to stay warm. Hopefully the rain will continue to stay away so we can get the races in. And if you have not been out to Martinville, I encourage you, get out to Martinville Raceway real quick. So those are the results from the June 8th racing at Martinville Raceway. Today is an exciting day here at Martinville Raceway. Number one, the Young Guns are in town. Number two, and this is a personal, for lack of a better term, is my son Brendan. He is making his 2013 debut in the Victory Racing number 7. He's running the open clone class this year, and we're going to talk to Brendan. He's first time here this year, so we're going to catch up with him. We're going to find out what he's been doing the past 9 months since his last race here at Martinville. So, question number one, Brendan, what have you been up to?
Well, got a YouTube channel, Buckeye Breeze. I don't want to advertise, but I've been doing that pretty much all winter, and I've been doing some RC racing with my grandpa. So that's pretty much it, to be honest.
How's the RC racing going?
It started off kind of interesting, of course, since I've never done it before. It was just kind of fun, but now we're getting a little bit better into it, getting a lot more RCs, doing the 4-wheel drive, fast stuff. It's pretty cool.
Now let me ask you this. You started your own YouTube channel. Let's talk about it. Talk about your YouTube channel. Let's give it a little plug. Tell us what you do with your YouTube channel.
Well, what I do is, this will probably attract to more of my age, but I do Call of Duty and Halo videos on my YouTube channel. I just record my gameplays and then I talk over something over it. Sometimes I'll do news on like the new Xbox or stuff for Black Ops 2 or whatever, just something random. Or sometimes I do a live com where I'll just do a live video feed of myself and of the actual gameplay, see my actual reactions and stuff. I get some pretty funny videos when I do that. It's pretty cool.
Now let's turn back to Martinville Raceway. He's raced here for, this will be at least his 3rd year that he's come here racing, and he's had, how many years is that?
I think 3.
It's been 3 years, and he's had a lot of success. One race last year was very special to both of our heart. My wife, his mother-in-law, was in the hospital. She had just, no, not mother-in-law. I'm sorry about that. Stepmother. Sorry about that. My wife, his stepmother, was in the hospital. She just had surgery because she had melanoma skin cancer on her neck. Brendan decided that day was going to be dedicated to her. He came out and he raced in 2 different classes. He raced the number 7. He also raced the 5. And 2 heat races, both classes. 1 feature race, both classes. He won them all. Take us back to that night. Tell us about it.
Well, like you said, I basically just dedicated it to her. I wasn't really expecting much. I just wanted to try and do something. But considering I was racing 2 classes, it was, I wasn't expecting to have anything miraculous happen. But I just went out there. The carts were hooked up perfectly, had great speed. The racers were doing really awesome. They weren't trying to wreck everybody and everything. It was really smooth, and it just allowed me to start winning, I guess. I just started winning all the races, and at the end of the night, we won all of them.
Now, Brendan has been racing the Victory carts for probably 5, 6, 7 years now, and 6th year, and his crew chief has always been his grandpa, Gary Chase. Now, take us to the relationship that you and Paul have as far as driver, crew chief, and what's been so successful pairing you 2 together.
Well, I think considering the fact that I've been going to go-kart races and races in general since I was 5 with my grandpa, it really just kind of sets the tone for my love for the racing, which also ties in with his love for the racing, and then it just both works together equally and makes a good experience. But since we've been, going all this time, and then I started when I was 8, it's easier to talk to him because it's not like you're having somebody hired to come and do your stuff, and it's not like that they're setting up the cart and I'm gone doing something else and then I just hop in and race. I stay here, I'm starting to do most of the work on the cart now, so it just kind of, I know more about it. I can talk to him personally about how I know what's going on, and it makes it a lot better experience.
Now, Gary Chase has a great pedigree. He's won go-kart races, he's won races at Lorraine Speedway, he's won drag races, he's won RC races, he's won Kindwood Derby races, so he has a great pedigree. And these, Brendan and my father really seem to mesh as far as racing goes. Now let's turn our attention to today's racing. It's your first time back. As you hear, the engines are starting to roar in the background. They're starting to get their engines ready. Let's talk about today's racing. What are you most looking forward to today?
Well, first of all, I'm just looking for a great experience. I mean, I haven't been here at all this year, obviously, but I'm just looking to go out there, have some fun. I'm not really expecting me to be anything great today. Obviously, I haven't raced at all this season. But just go out there, have some fun, and see what happens, I guess.
Well, Brendan, I thank you for your time. I know you got a little bit to do before you start signing in. One of the things I've loved about racing from the moment I started paying attention to racing was the noise. I love the sound of a pack of cars coming by you, the vibration you get from both the wind coming from them and the engines roaring and the noise and everything like that. I've always loved that. It's awesome. I love it when a full pack of cars come by real fast, both at go-kart tracks, and obviously I mentioned before Fox's coverage. What they do the crank it up segment. Well, they'll just let you crank the volumes and listen to the cars as they come by. So I thought I'd have a little bit of fun, and I took a couple races where I just got the cars coming through the corners. I tried to get the camera as low as possible. I tried to get the microphone as close to the track as possible, and then I just kind of put them together as a collage, and I kind of made my own crank it up segment. So if you so choose, sit back, crank up your volumes, and enjoy my version of Crank It Up. Really hope you enjoyed that Crank It Up segment. I thought it'd be kind of fun to put that out and just see how loud I could get it, see how close to the NASCAR coverage I could get it. I know it wasn't very close, but hey, gotta have fun sometimes. So let's go ahead and transition into the point standings so far after race 3 of the 2013 Martinville Raceway season. As I've mentioned before, we're trying to find a way to get the points out quicker and or more organized, for lack of a better term. I have to say thank you very much to Crystal DeWald, who anytime I ask for information from her, she gets it to me as quick as she can. So I'm very appreciative to Crystal DeWald for all her help as far as getting the information I need to pass along the information to you. She had everything to me less than 24 hours after the racing was over with, so I very much appreciate that. And let's go ahead and give you the point standings so far after race 3 of the 2013 Martinville Raceway season in the 305 clone class. Currently sitting in first place is Sam Weaver with 94 points. In second place is Ben Wasson with 77 points. In third place is Austin Schroeder with 62 points. And tied for fourth place is Wyatt Lessick and Austin Butler. They both have 58 points. In the 360 clone class, which grows and grows after every race, so currently up top of the leaderboard is Aaron Distel. He currently has 81 points. In second place is Ebson Miller at 64 points. Tied for third place is Joey Pendergrass and Sean Cluck. They both have 55 points. In fifth place is Jerry Doms with 49 points. And in sixth place is Buddy Jackson with 48 points. In the 360 flathead class, currently in first place is Jacob Lawson. He has 78 points. In second place is Tony Myers with 70 points. In third place is Kevin Warner with 61 points. In fourth place is Mike Coleman with 54 points. And in fifth place is Jeff Warnick with 50 points. In the gold plate class, now this is one class where there's a big difference in the space between first place and second place. So currently running away with the season is Zach Newman. He has 92 points. Second place has Alex Lochner at 34 points. Third place is Devin Kime and Casey Zeebel tied with 31 points. And currently in fourth place is Wyatt Lessick with 27 points. In the opens class, there has been a change at the top of the standings. Richie McIntyre, who had led through the first two races of the season, has been overtaken by Mike Pace, who had an incredible day June 8th at Martinville Raceway. His kart was on a rail. He did a great job, and he has taken over first place. So Mike Pace currently in first place with 87 points. Richie McIntyre just slides back to second place at 76 points. He's been very consistent all year. Third place is Matt Cron with 73 points. And then there's a bit of a gap to fourth place with Chuck May at 57 points. And in fifth place is Curtis May with 53 points. And in the purple plate class, the gap is growing. James Crowe stands in first place. He's got 92 points. 20 points behind in second place is David Newman with 72 points. In third place is Summer Colvin with 59 points. In fourth place is Austin Black with 50 points. Now, these are all the standings I have so far. I need to get some more information as far as if the kit carts and the 50cc's, if they're going to be combined as far as points go, or if they're going to stay separate. The open clone class, I believe, is only run twice this year, and I don't have I don't have the points from the first race, and then I have the points from this past race, so I don't know if that's going to be a class. And there's a couple other questions that still have to be resolved. So these are unofficial. What I tell you from here is information I am getting from Martinville Raceway, but they are still unofficial. Martinville Raceway they keep the official records. Whatever they say is what the points are. I may be getting the information from them, but I may add them up wrong or whatever. And the people at Martinville Raceway, Paul and Crystal, they have the official points. But if you have any kind of questions, if you didn't hear your name, send me a message on Bob's, send me a message on my Facebook page at JRG Photography 3. And I'll happy to give you the information as far as what I know of where your point standings are. But as of right now, these are how the points stand for the 2013 Martinville Raceway season. As I just mentioned, if you have any kind of questions, just let me know. And I'd be more than happy to give you the information that I have. Now, transitioning from the points from Martinville Raceway, I wanted to take a minute to, for lack of a term, commentate. This will be my first commentary, I guess you could say, as far as the passing of Jason Leffler. As many of you may well know, June 12th, which was a Wednesday evening, Jason Leffler was competing in Bridgeport, New Jersey, I believe. Give me just a second, I can kind of verify that. And he was competing in a 410 sprint class, and in the first heat race, he got into an accident, and unfortunately, his kart flipped several times, and he was not able to recover from his injuries, and he ended up passing away shortly after he made it to the hospital. Now, Jason Leffler had been a fixture in the NASCAR world since 1999, and he even before that in the USAC series he won championships 3 in a row from 97, 98, 99, and he also won a Silver Crown championship. And Jason Leffler, if you ever saw him on the track, he always had that mohawk hairstyle, and it kind of fit his attitude. He was very feisty. He was a spunky driver, for lack of a better term. He won 2 races in the Nationwide Series, and he won a race in the Truck Series, and he was a very talented driver. But as the outpouring of emotion, grief, and gratefulness to Jason Leffler's life came pouring in, I had to kind of turn to just the fact that he loved racing. It was obvious in everything he did. You can tell by everything coming in as far as condolences go. He loved racing. He loved his 5-year-old son even more, though. He loved his son very much. You know, according to a lot of people who have commented on Jason Leffler's death, he loved his son very, very, very much. And it's sad to see somebody lose their life doing something in a sport that, if you're watching this episode of the Martinville Raceway Report, you must have some kind of love for racing. And obviously Jason Leffler did, and anybody who's viewing this does. I love racing. I love watching my son race go-karts. And it just kind of brings you back down to earth as far as, you know, what life is really about. And he got to do something he loved, but more importantly, he loved his son very much. And I just hope that everybody, if you're watching this, you just take a moment to thank God, number one, that you're breathing. Thank God, number two, that he sent his son Jesus to die for our sins. So when we put our faith and trust in him, you know, we get to spend eternity in heaven. And I'm very much hoping that when my time on earth is done, I'll actually, you know, maybe look to the left or look to the right, and there I'll see Jason Leffler, you know, just having a blast on the race car circuit that's going to be up there. And I just hope that everybody, if you're watching this, you'll take a moment to pray for his family, that you'll take a moment to pray for his son. I'm a dad. I've got 2 sons. And I love my wife to death, and just as much as I love my wife, I love my kids. And the times you get to spend with your kids are precious. And that's why I love going to the track, seeing my son race. Having the opportunity to watch him do something he loves to do makes me proud. Same thing when he plays baseball. Same thing with Ryan when he plays baseball or he does something good. You know, my chest puffs out. So I hope you'll just take a moment to pray for Jason Leffler's family, pray for his son, and just take a moment to thank God that, you know, you get to do something that you love to do, because, you know, we all enjoy racing, be it, you know, at the go-kart track or watching NASCAR and TV. It's something we all love to do, but, you know, we can't take it for granted. We're not promised tomorrow. So thank God today for what you have. So I thank you for, you know, I thank you for listening to this little commentary I had, watching the coverage of everything that happened with, you know, Jason Leffler the past 24 hours. Just something that was on my heart, and I wanted to pass along to the viewers of this. So I hope you enjoyed the commentary. I hope you enjoyed everything that was on this episode of the Martinville Raceway Report. The karts will return to the track at Martinville Raceway on June 22nd. It's, you know, promising to be another great night at the track. Hopefully we'll have another high kart count, a lot of features with a packed field, and hopefully you'll see me out at the track. Maybe I'll get some more interviews. But I really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Martinville Raceway Report.